Next up, we have Shareen Luze with Courage to Lead.
Good afternoon. I don't know if there's much worse than your face right behind you like this. I am so thrilled to be here today with all of you at this amazing conference. This is my first time here, and I have to say, I'm blown away. Just to stand on the same stage as these other presenters is truly humbling. I'm here today as a woman who was presented with a huge leadership opportunity at the exact time that I was diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. I'm here today because instead of giving in to my gut reaction and self-doubt and saying no, I said yes. And I'm here today in hopes that by sharing my story, the good, the bad, and the really ugly, I might inspire a few of you when that moment comes for you. I grew up in a first-ring suburb of Minneapolis. My mom was a telecommunications supervisor, and my dad was a compliance officer for a department in the Department of Labor that was charged with enforcing non-discrimination in employment. So my dad brought his work home with him. Let me just say, this panel was much like my living room as a child. It bled into everything that we did. I wasn't allowed to have Barbie dolls. We weren't allowed to watch beauty pageants. The Brady Bunch, totally out of the question. Basically, anything that perpetuated stereotypes was off limits in our house. My parents really felt that it was vital for me and my three sisters to equip us with strong self-image and positive self-esteem. And they read this study that suggested that girls who participated in team sports would have higher self-esteem as adults. Maybe some of you have heard that. So they required me and my sisters to pick a sport. So as much as I hate to admit it, my parents were right. I was a self-conscious and introverted kid, and sports really pushed me outside my comfort zone. I had a coach who used to say, "Fake it till you make it." Could argue that's terrible advice, but it really resonated with me. I refused to be limited by my own insecurities, and that little mantra helped push me to take the next step. And that next step for me was to go to college. And my dad's passion for social justice and strong influence on me led me to pursue a career in law. Now, much like many things in my life, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had no idea that you could have volumes of homework before law school even started. I also did not know how competitive it would be. I had classmates who were tearing cases out of books that others needed simply to undercut you in class rank. Now, I'm hardwired to win, but my moral compass was not going to allow me to stoop to that level, which brings me to what I call my first personal truth, which is never, ever compromise on your principles, because any opportunity that requires you to do so isn't an opportunity after all. Now, I think we all know it'd be a lot easier to conform, but in doing so, we rob the world of our true and authentic talents because we're so busy masquerading being someone else. After law school, I spent 7 years practicing employment law in a law firm as a litigator. Now, talk about pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. Standing in front of a courtroom and arguing cases is not for the faint of heart, but I did it because I was so passionate about the cause. Eventually, I took a job in-house at RBC Wealth Management as an associate general counsel. Now, in this context, associate is the operative word because I didn't think that I knew enough or had enough experience to be senior general counsel, so I went for associate, which brings me to my second personal truth, which is never limit yourself based on what you think you don't know or can't do. Now, unfortunately for me, I'm a slow learner. It took me more than 12 years to really embrace that personal truth, because when the job of head of HR became available at RBC, two senior leaders at the company approached me and asked if I'd be interested. And my response wasn't just no, it was actually hell no. And I actually used my outside voice instead of my inside voice. Yeah. So what was holding me back? I'd never had a role like that before. I didn't think I knew enough. I didn't think I was ready, and I didn't think I was worthy. And then there was my family. I have 2 small children and daycare pickup duties, and so I'm somebody who comes in really early and leaves early. Well, would this new level of a job require me to compromise that schedule and see less of my kids? Now, family is a core principle for me, and as I said earlier, I've learned never to compromise on my principles. So what was it that these senior leaders saw in me and had more confidence in my abilities that I didn't have? So I took a step back and I thought about it. And it wasn't that I didn't have an interest in the job. It was just the intimidation of not being good enough for it. I knew that HR could change positively employees' lives. And I also knew that my background in employment law and my upbringing could really bring a good perspective to the role. So eventually, I said yes, and I got it. Thank you, thank you. But then, a week later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was sitting at my desk, and I got the phone call. And to say I was stunned would be an understatement. I had no idea what to do. And for whatever reason in my mind at that time, I just decided, well, I don't have time for this. So I dusted myself off, I wiped my tears, and I went to the rest of the meetings I had that day. As I was getting into the elevator to come back to my office after my last meeting, I ran into the CEO, and he congratulated me again on getting the role. And he said, wow, we have so much to talk about. And I thought, oh, yeah, we really do. I wasn't thinking about myself or my diagnosis at that time. My heart hurt at the thought of telling these people who were counting on me that I couldn't take this new role. And it was at this time that I thought about my mom. When she was only 27, she was diagnosed with a very severe form of cardiomyopathy. And eventually it became difficult for her to walk up and down stairs. Even walking was too much. And she died when she was only 54. Despite her limitations and all of the suffering she went through, she faced everything with positivity and humor. And I thought about what I was going through, and I thought, the grace she showed, my situation isn't that bad. So I decided I could do it. I could take on this new role, and I could beat breast cancer. But I had to let go of the notion that I could do it all at the same time. Women in my generation grew up being told, you can have it all and you can do it all. And the truth is, we can't. And I don't mean that in a don't dream big kind of way. I absolutely don't. I mean that we can't be it all to everyone all of the time. So, so for our own sakes, let's stop perpetuating that notion that we can be it all and we can have it all and we can do it all, because it stands in the way of our success. Because saying no to ourselves means we've lost ourselves. So what we need to do is learn that we have to prioritize, and that priorities can and will change. And for me at that time, priority number 1 was getting ready to leave work so that I could take care of myself. Now, forever the litigator, I negotiated to delay the day of my surgery on the chance that I would take 6 weeks off post-surgery. Now, my oncologist agreed. I safely delayed the day of my surgery, and I was able to transition my old role while laying groundwork for my new role. And then I had my surgery, and I took 6 weeks off at home, and I didn't work, not one bit. And I would guarantee that there's not many women in this room or people in this room that can say that they actually didn't work. I didn't work. I prioritized me, and I was unapologetic about it. And not only that, I let people take care of me. I let people do things for me. And you know what? Everything was okay. And when I got back to work, the work was all still waiting for me. So not only did I come back to work, but my family was okay too with this new job. I wasn't forced to compromise my schedule. I still leave nearly every day by 4 o'clock. I received fantastic advice from a mentor who said, instead of assuming you have to change your schedule for your new role, own it, okay? So my first official one-on-one with the CEO, I talked to him and explained to him how my husband and I had navigated our family life. I was terrified. And his response, sounds good. Nothing happens after 4 o'clock anyway. I have an idea. I think this should be a personal truth for all of us. Nothing happens after 4 o'clock. So every day when I leave, I fight the urge to sneak out, and I announce my departure because I want others, and specifically other women, to see that I'm not compromising on my principles and that I'm sticking to it in my new role. And in closing, I want to say, I said yes to a leadership opportunity. I said yes to taking care of me, and I hope you will too. Thank you.